Hello there, Eagles fans, and welcome back to our Eagles Therapy Podcast. My name is Basil.
And I'm Baz.
And we are recording Saturday, April 27th, 2024, towards the end of the last day of the NFL Draft. Pretty exciting weekend. We're going to kind of just jump into it. Don't want to waste our time on the intro. Let's go ahead and just go right into it. Pretty crazy first day, Dad. We're at the bar. We're having some fun. It's getting ready, and we're all kind of like, well, will we pick the guy in the 22nd or are we going to trade back? Are we going to trade up?
Oh, we're definitely trading up.
That's the thing. I told you on the drive there, I'm like,
Yeah.
I just know. I feel like we're not going to pick anybody today. I was like, I
Yep.
just don't know,
Yeah.
man. I never know what this guy's going to do, but he stuck, and he picked a great pick. He got Quinyon Mitchell, who somehow, all offseason, he was, unanimously named and rated as the best cornerback in the draft, or at least one of the two best. He was never the fourth best or the third. He was
Right.
He was number one or he was number two. He was always up there. And the fact that he was there available at 22nd is unbelievable.
It's great because we didn't have to trade down. We didn't have to trade up. We didn't have to give away 3 picks. I mean, it was just something that we knew was going to happen, and it didn't. It was fun because we had a bunch of people with us at the same time, throwing around names and who we're going to get. And the way it unfolded, all the QBs going early, like in the top 10, 12, and we could see it kind of getting there towards the mid. We knew, okay, nobody's taking a cornerback yet. It took, 15 picks before a defender was picked?
Yeah, it was the 15th pick. You're right.
15 picks.
It's like at 19th,
pretty amazing.
At 19th, we were like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
We're going to draft at least
we
one
had
of
the pick
them.
of the litter.
We had the pick of the litter. And then we get to our spot. We thought, oh, well, even if the best guy goes before us, we can get Cooper. Or we
get number 2 or number 3.
We can get this guy. You know what I mean? And the fact that Quinyon Mitchell, I couldn't believe he was there at 22nd. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, we ended up with two of the top 3.
Yep.
I mean, that's negotiable
we'll get
for
to that
different
next,
players. But
obviously out of Toledo, you got some stats on Quinyon?
Yes, I do. So he played for them for 4 seasons. It doesn't say how many games he started, but he finished with 123 tackles. Let's see, 6 interceptions.
Oh wow.
There's 2 TDs, so that's awesome. 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery.
He had 2 pick sixes in the one game. Remember
yes,
we were watching?
Yes, he had 4 picks in that game, which is crazy. That's nuts. But so he's got the speed. I think we talked about it.
4.33.
4.33 in the 40.
Yep.
So that was awesome.
Runs a 4.33. He's got a draft grade of 6.47. That's considered elite,
right,
and it has him listed as will become a starter within 2 years. I think that's a little bit even low. His total score of the next gen stats breakdown, I know we're not too into that.
Right.
He was rated as the first cornerback, third most in production and 4th in athleticism, but he was first overall. And like you said, 4-year starter. Got a couple All-American or an All-American, a third team, a second team,
right,
first team All-MAC, and everything like that.
The other thing is he didn't change teams like a lot of these guys now. It's kind of confusing to me because as I'm watching the draft, he played for this team and this team, and I'm like, oh, what's going on here? You only get to play for one college, but not anymore.
Yeah, and it showed his different highlights, and you're like, well, wait, ASU?
Who am I looking at?
I thought they just said he was drafted out of Oklahoma.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
that
happens
was
all the time
to me. But
nowadays
it's normal.
Yes, I know.
You're good. You go to a better school to get more pick, to get more money, to get higher draft.
Yep.
So it's crazy.
Yeah, so then the second round was just as crazy as the first, really. We had 2 second-round picks. We kind of knew going in, probably not going to pick 2 guys there. Maybe one of them, and then the other one will trade. Ended up using both to trade. We had the 50th and the 53rd. We traded up to the 40th pick to get Cooper DeJean, another guy who was considered a top 3 cornerback in the draft. When they drafted him, they listed him as a defensive back. They didn't say corner. They said defensive back. Out of Iowa, of course, and another guy who's considered to be just one of the best cover guys and one of the best defensive backs in the entire draft. But what do you have on him?
So he played 3 seasons for Iowa, 7 interceptions total, a lot of tackles, 20 tackles. 120 tackles. And so, the guy's everywhere. He's also, we watched some stats, some things from him. He's super fast. He's got great
it's funny
return ability.
Another one of those guys, he didn't, his 40 wasn't the fastest. He wasn't in the 4.3s.
We couldn't find it.
The 4.2s. But it's funny because you look at him doing kick or punt returns and interception returns, and you're like, dude, this guy's way faster than 4.4.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's funny. There's so many players like that who they run a 4.5 or a 4.47, and you're like, oh, that's not that fast. Well, then they're in the game, and you're like, there's just nothing like he's so fast. Look at him, like that's insanely fast. That can't be 4.4.
Plus his breakability, the way he moved. Every time he caught an interception, he got at least 20 yards.
Yeah,
he's cutting between guys. He's sliding around people. This guy, and it's funny because when you look at him, he does not really
look like a football player at all.
a football player. Now, we did see him later in the game with some of his teammates. The one thing about him, though, that I thought was amazing was every big, huge play he made, he didn't pound his chest.
Never.
He didn't take the ball and he flipped the ball to the referee, ran back to his sidelines. This is a team player, which is amazing. So
it was incredible.
It just gives you that good feeling because some of these players, when they're showing them the glasses and the shirt off, and this guy just looks like he's going to play and he's going to support you and he's going to support you and he's not going to get mad at you. Like he just seems like he's just a football player.
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, some of his pick six, like you said, he would just toss the ball to the ref and run back to the side. And I'm just, I love it.
Just
this guy's
kept on
great.
going. So yes,
got a draft prospect grade of 6.36. Considered to eventually be a starter in the good range of the next gen stats. He was total score third best cornerback at the combine, second in production and seventh in athleticism. But man, he looks like a baller and just those two picks alone. Once we did that, we were like, oh my gosh, like I'm okay with the rest of the draft now.
Yeah,
really. That was so.
Yes,
I can't believe it. That was exactly what we all wanted. If you were an Eagles fan, I know for a fact you were wanting a cornerback. Maybe you wanted a tackle. I don't know, but everyone knew going in. We have to leave this with at least two.
Well,
corners,
we talked about that. We need corner. 3. We want a shutdown corner. We got that. And now we also have like two of them. Like
a guy. Well, this Cooper DeJean. He was what was he considered to be? He was compared to Malcolm Jenkins,
right?
Who was a guy that played every snap for us on defense and special teams for a full 3 seasons,
right?
And also in that time, he was playing safety, he was playing corner, he was playing linebacker, he was playing nickel,
slot corner.
Yes,
they were talking about that.
Nickelback. I mean, and this is what he can do.
That's
why they list him as defensive back because he's just a defensive back player. He's not there's no set boundary for him.
And I was saying to you, I think when you get players of this caliber, it's going to make the other players better.
Oh yeah.
Maybe hide some of the weaknesses they may have.
Oh, absolutely.
And just be able to work them in because they've got speed. Again, we didn't get his 40 time because they didn't have one, but super fast. So I mean, quick off the ball and everything like that. So we're very excited about that. And like you said, even with the trade that we made, we gave up our 50 and 53rd. We ended up moving down to 40. We gave them something, but I know we ended up getting a third next year too. And that was another thing that ended up happening throughout this draft. We kept getting picks next year.
Yeah. I was going to say after this pick, we traded up and I know these two picks, 50 and 53 to get 40. After this, I'm lost. There were so many trades today. Obviously, as everyone probably knows, the Eagles this year broke the NFL record for most trades in a draft weekend.
Single draft, yes.
In a single draft weekend.
Crazy.
I think it was 6 or 7. I don't even remember now. There was so much happening. But
I was so happy. I always hate trading that first round pick up because then you lose some substantial, but getting the 2 picks we got when we got them, and then with some of the other things that fell with them, it was just brilliant.
Let's go over to the next guy that we drafted, Jalix Hunt, drafted 94th overall, defensive end out of Houston Christian. They said linebacker, but then they started kind of showing his highlights, and it was like, okay, well, he's definitely not really a linebacker. He's more of a defensive end. Yeah. They did say he can kind of cover both sides. We know he, at one point in high school, was a safety.
Right.
He converted to defensive end, outside linebacker, I guess we should call him. He can be an off-ball, but it seems like he's more of a pass rusher.
He is.
What do you have on him?
I'd say an edge.
An edge,
yes.
yeah.
So 38 games in college. He played for a very small school. He started with Cornell, I believe, and then he finished with Houston Christian. So he didn't play for any of the big schools.
Yeah.
162 tackles, 20.5 tackles for loss. So this is over 38 games. So this is 3 seasons. 13 and a half sacks, 17 quarterback hits, 1 interception return for a TD. So again, we've got 3 players that have had touchdowns in college success. 4 fumble recoveries, a couple block kicks, which is always nice.
Oh, really?
So that's nice. 5 forced fumbles, 5 pass breakups. So for a defensive end breaking up passes, you either tapped them at the line of scrimmage or covered a tight end quick out of the backfield and knocked it down. So, it's funny because this was kind of the first pick in the draft that we all kind of went, who's that guy?
Yeah, it was definitely.
And then you start hearing some of the announcers. Of course, you can't listen to any of those because one guy says he's the best player ever, and the other guy says he should have never been drafted.
Yeah.
So, but just the way they talked about him, where kind of a project that you and I went, no, we don't want any projects. We want a starter. But, we've also picked in the past a 4-year starter who didn't make the team. So,
Well, he's a third-round pick, so I mean, it's better to have a project in the third round than a project in the first.
And with upside, big upside.
And when we talked about needing a guy to start, we talked about first round, maybe second round, and we have that. Third round, sure, we can get into projects. I think he could be good. He's got some speed. Runs a 4.6, I think, which isn't super fast, but for a defensive end, I mean, that's
But
not
see, I
bad.
think at this part of the draft, and it was you and I and a few other people online. Rico was one of them, and we were. We all wanted that linebacker. You know what I mean? Like we're saying, okay, we need this linebacker without really remembering that Devin White had just come in from Tampa Bay.
That's what I told you right away. I'm like, oh, I guess we kind of.
Nolan Smith's kind of a linebacker. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like it was a need,
Kobe Dean.
But it's still a need.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So, and then Kobe Dean, of course, he didn't play much for us last year, but he's a linebacker, true linebacker.
Yeah.
So anyway, when we got this, we kind of went, oh no, we don't want to see this, but. We didn't have to trade down or anything to get this guy, so we kind of stayed where we were at there. So I think it's going to be a good thing. He was a Senior Bowl invite, so that tells you that he was. They knew about him. It wasn't like he was nobody. And some of the statistics we saw, some of the people were saying, he's going to be picked in the first 50, 60 picks. So
yeah, I think Mel had him as 64th best player. Yeah. Daniel Jeremiah, or maybe someone had an 86th, 64th. It wasn't like he was super down there. So
exactly,
he had a prospect rate of 6.14, which is considered to be a good backup with the potential to develop into a starter. Listed as the 12th best defensive end / edge rank at the combine.
Right.
I don't know which number we got him as a defensive end. So if he was the 12th best, you
right,
kind of want to make sure you're getting the value there. So I don't know exactly what we got, but 5th in athleticism. So looks like he's a very athletic dude.
Kind of a freakish athlete type.
Yeah. Runs a 4.64, like I said. 10-yard split was 1.6 seconds. I mean, and he had some pretty good reps on the bench press at 19. So he's a pretty strong dude as well. Yeah. So, not a blow your hat off pick, but I like it. I'm okay with it.
We couldn't find any really good
it's hard to find video
of him.
Yeah.
Some of it was high school, so we had to kind of say forget that. But we did
on kickoff return or kickoff coverage.
Yeah, we tried. So, but here's hoping he develops into the player we need him to be.
Yep.
But I mean, it was definitely a need. Edge, of course. You can't have too many defensive ends or edge.
You can't. You really can't. And he's sitting there behind, gets to learn from Brandon Graham and gets to work with Josh Sweat, Nolan Smith, and Bryce Huff now. It's a good room to be a part of.
It is.
I think it's good.
And with the new D coordinator, who knows?
Oh, yeah. Oh, new defensive line coach, too. But
yes.
Next, we've got Will Shipley, drafted 127th overall, running back out of Clemson. This one's pretty exciting. A lot of people were also kind of confused. Why are we getting a running back? We just got Saquon, and what do we need a running back for? We still have
Gainwell,
and maybe Scott's coming back, which I don't. We'll talk about that, but
yes, gotcha.
It's just kind of like it was a little worrisome, but looking at it, it seems like he is considered to be like a perfect fit in an offense like Kellen Moore to run.
Right.
He's big on screen.
Yes.
We talked about the biggest problem is he's not great on pass protection, so he's not going to be a big pass pro guy.
Yes.
But he's definitely a speed guy with a 4.3 940.
Right.
And what do you got on him?
So yeah, three-year pro, played 3-year college player for Clemson. So that's a big school. We're not talking a little school. So
it's huge.
He had 33 touchdowns in his career in college, 2 receiving touchdowns and 31 rushing touchdowns. Freshman year, he had his first year in college. I don't know if he was a freshman or not.
Yeah.
It says freshman here. So 5 yards a carry. Sophomore, 5.6 yards a carry, and then 5 yards a carry again in his senior year. 11 touchdowns, 15 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns. So this guy's done a lot. He's a lot of receptions, 85 over a 3-year career, so almost 30 a season. 600 yards, about 8 yards a carry. 7 yards a reception.
Yeah.
He was a 5.2 yards a carry guy. Nice. 500 carries, 2,700 yards, 2,748 yards. So, that's 5 yards a carry in college. We saw some footage of him. He's got some great breakaway speed.
Breakaway speed's great.
And
shifty.
He kind of can make himself skinny, kind of squeeze through the line, which doesn't hurt when you have big offensive linemen like we do. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's a good pick. Again, we were kind of surprised, but what do we know, right? We're like we need a linebacker. We want this, we want that. To pull a running back out, it was kind of just not. We weren't prepared for it, but at the same time, when you start looking at him, you go, "Hey, that's a good job."
Yeah. He had a prospect grade of 6.16, which is a good backup with the potential to develop into a starter, so that's good. Especially because hopefully Saquon being healthy, he just doesn't have to be the starter right away. He doesn't have to come in and take 130 carries. It's not like that.
Exactly.
He was ranked in the combine as the 7th best running back. We got him at 7th. He was the 7th running back taken in the draft.
So that's good.
It's exactly his value. So that's perfect. That's exactly what you want to see.
It wasn't a reach.
And coming
that's
out
the
of
thing.
Coming out of a school like Clemson, that's what I like to see. I like seeing guys come out of big schools.
I agree.
It means they fought through a lot of competition in their lives. So next we got Anais Smith. Drafted 152nd overall as a wide receiver from Texas A&M. What do you got on him?
So we know we needed a wide receiver just to help out with what we have right now. He's a 5'10", 190-pounder, so I don't think he's had super speed, but a lot of catches through his career. He played 5 years in college, so I don't know how that works. Freshman, let's see. It's got 2 senior years listed, so I don't know what that's all about.
It's just he's probably a super senior because of the COVID situation. Most likely he stayed on because of COVID. They all got extra years of eligibility.
180 catches over 5 seasons, if you will. 2,400 yards, 13 yards a catch, 19 touchdowns. He had 72 rushing attempts. His sophomore year in 2020, he had 49 carries, 6 yards a carry, 4 touchdowns. I think there was something about him being like a running back.
They try to have him as a running back kind of guy.
Maybe an end around type guy, but pretty good. He had a lot of plays from scrimmage, 252 plays from scrimmage, 11.2 yards per touch in college. Okay. And again, Texas A&M, the SEC, pretty big school. Not a very big guy. Like I said, 5'10", 190. So hopefully he's our slot receiver if they deem him to be there.
Yeah. And like you say, he ran a 4.55 40, so not the fastest guy, like you said, but he was also a returner in college, which is another thing we got to talk about.
Yes,
a lot of these guys, returners, it's kind of funny. We'll get into another one in a little bit, but just all these return men, I don't know what we're going to do.
Well, I mean, that's where we mentioned Boston Scott, and we really kind of wanted to bring him back, but now with
it seems
like we're going to have Isaiah Rodgers, which we talked about the last pod, and then we've got Cooper as a punt returner, and then this guy is a punt returner or a kick returner.
Those types of guys.
So, we've got it. And with the new kickoff rules, who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's all we keep hearing from all the different shows we listen to. So, hopefully, he works out as a receiver. That's what we need.
Yeah.
We need 5 catches a game for 50 yards.
Oh, that's
and
a
couple
that's
TDs.
A little bit too much.
Well, it's going to be hard moving that ball around.
But we're talking 3 catches for 30 yards.
I'll take it.
Anais Smith got a prospect grade of 5.99. It's average backup or special teamer. Listed as the 32nd wide receiver in the combine. I don't know what number we took him at. Again, that's a lot of little bit extra research I didn't do. Athleticism down to the 34th and production to 25th. So not the top of the list, but we're going to 4th round at this point. So it's not like it's a 5th round actually is what he was.
Right.
So it's not like it's otherworldly talent we were expecting there, but still he looks like he could be a contributor on special teams. And if he can be the 3rd wide receiver and give us what we need,
that's what we need.
I'll take it.
We've got a couple others, right? He's not the only one. So but we do definitely need a 3rd receiver or one of those guys to step up and fill that position.
Next, we're going over to the fan favorite.
This is the one we waited for all week.
We were all looking forward to.
Yes,
we were all hoping for it. Every Eagles fan out there was hoping we'd get him at some point, whether you wanted him in the 2nd round or the 7th round. I don't care. We all wanted him, and it's Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Out of Clemson, drafted 155th overall.
Great value.
Traded back with one of our picks, and then we traded back up to get him.
Yes.
So that was a really smooth pick by Howie. Pick 20 in the 5th round. It's great to have him here, Dad. What do you have on him?
Well, he's just I watched him play. He's amazing. So he played 3 years in college. Let's see, we got freshman, sophomore, and then senior. I don't know why they call it like that way, but total linebacker, tackles 192, total tackles for loss 29.5, 13 sacks overall. And we know he's got some interceptions. He's got some fumble pass defenses, a lot of forced fumbles, 3 forced fumbles over his career. Just an amazing player. He's definitely what we really were looking for on day 1 and day 2. So we were really, really happy to see him. The fact that he fell like he did and kind of the way we maneuvered the trades, because I believe that was the trade with Detroit, and then we moved back up and, but it was just great value, I think. And, it's funny how a lot of people kept looking for us to get him, and we finally got him in probably where he should have been drafted at. So,
I mean, it's never bad to get a guy in the 5th round who at one point was projected to be in the 2nd round.
Exactly.
And later in mock drafts, he dropped kind of to the 3rd. And then during the draft, you know how it always works. There's always a big drop because of, the run of offensive linemen and stuff like that happens in the first and second round and all those types of things. He has a prospect grade of 6.29, which will eventually be a starter. That's pretty darn good in his next-gen stats. He was 7th as a linebacker at the Combine, 23rd in athleticism, but 2nd in production. So big on his production in college, like we talked about. He's a pretty strong dude, 21 reps on the bench press. His 40-yard dash was a 4.40. I mean,
that's incredible.
It's incredible.
For a linebacker.
And it's funny because I know a lot of people were talking about, his size. He's not too big. I mean, he's 6 foot. He's 228 pounds. Does linebackers need to be 6'5"?
Hey, man.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm going to say.
You're going to talk about
Sam Mills,
5'9".
Amazing. I don't even think he had that kind of speed either. Just a player's a player's a player.
You're right.
This guy's a player.
You're right.
That's how it works.
It's true.
That's football. To tell you, we look at some of these numbers sometimes and you go, oh, my gosh, he shouldn't be playing there. He would never. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This guy is a player. You can tell. I watched him play in the Notre Dame game, and he was just he was the best player on the field.
Yeah,
it's
true.
So, I mean, he's amazing. All the luck to him. It's great that he's a legacy player for us. His dad was one of my favorite players when he was younger.
Yeah.
When I was watching him younger. So it's kudos. I'm glad they got him, and we're excited.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you want to know a sad thing real quick? Sorry.
Go ahead.
His NFL comparison is Nick Bolton. I don't know if you know who that is. Nick Bolton is a Chiefs linebacker, most notably known for returning a fumble by Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl. For a touchdown.
Okay. Well,
yeah. So he's a 2-time Super Bowl champion.
But it's funny how they do this comparison thing too. Again,
I know.
Is it who did it? This guy was at the cook at Chubby's. Who's giving us comparisons here?
That's the other thing though. Is I don't really. How do you compare that? Nick Bolton runs a 4.6. He runs a 4.4.
Right.
How's that?
He's 6 foot. He's 6 foot. Whatever.
Yeah,
right?
I know. You don't know. I don't. I got rid of him. I didn't want to see him on my freaking.
But you know what I'm saying. It's just.
Yeah.
You always point out the comparisons, and we kind of have a chuckle about it because sometimes it's a player we like, and sometimes it's Steven Nelson, and we go, well, don't compare our guy to that guy, please.
Don't. Yeah.
Thank you.
But again, congrats to Jeremiah Trotter and to Jeremiah Trotter Jr. for coming back to Philly. Super happy. He played at St. Joe's Prep, so he's a local kid. Probably grew up an Eagles fan. There's a picture out there that's already been posted of Trot holding him as a baby at the NFC Championship game back in 2004.
There you go.
So, this kid, it's pretty cool to see it happen. So, next we got Trevor Keegan, offensive guard, drafted out of Michigan. Next, that was in the 5th round, pick 37. So, it was 17 picks after Trot. We don't have any stats on him, of course, because he's an offensive lineman, but I'll talk a little bit about him. First of all, he played at Michigan. So, that's a good thing for me right away. He won a national championship, which means he was on the best offensive line in the entire college. I know that's not always true.
He played under the biggest lights you can in college.
Exactly, and I like to see that.
He didn't fold, so
exactly. I like to see that. He had a 5.98 as an average backup or special teamer. He was ranked 13th in the total combine guards, so considered to be the 13th best guard. I don't know again what we got him. I'm not going to really talk about 40 time and speed because I just
I wouldn't. I saw it.
With offensive linemen, he runs a 5.24.
You don't need to.
I don't need a guard to run a 4.7.
What's his 3 cones? Right? What's his side to side? What's his
10-yard split 1.78. They don't have a 3-cone drill up here yet.
Right.
But I need quickness. I need off the line. I don't need him running as fast as humanly possible down the field.
I need somebody who's had to stay on sides and know the count.
I still don't know why centers, guards, and tackles run 40-yard dashes.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, I understand. Like we said, the 3-cone drill. To me, is the most important thing because it's vertical. I'm sorry, it's horizontal, side to side. And that's big because they got to pull, they got to get out there fast, but they don't need to run 40 yards down the field.
No,
they run 15, maybe.
I don't get it.
But no, it's still good to see. I think it's a good draft pick. I think it's good value where we got him. He's a big dude, 6'5", almost 6'6", 310 pounds.
Perfect size, perfect weight.
Exactly. Good guy to compete for offensive guard, for right guard, maybe compete for a tackle position one day. I don't know.
That's the one thing I was going to say. We talked about this before too. How many guards do we know converted to tackle in the pros and became
not often?
It's not often.
No,
it's really you're a tackle, you're a tackle, you're a guard, you're a guard. Centers can slide out the guards can slide into center in a need, but you find a spot and you pick your spot.
It's very rare.
Hopefully he can push Tyler Steen to be the best guard he can be.
Yeah, that's the other thing. This is competition. That's what makes this even bigger. Next, let's go to Johnny Wilson. We do have stats on him, Dad. I'll hit you up with that part.
Yes.
Or let me say who he is. Sorry. Drafted 185th overall, wide receiver out of Florida State. Now what you got?
Am I reading this correctly? I don't know. Maybe my eyes are deceiving me.
Yeah, what about
6'7"?
Yeah, he's 6'7".
6'7".
He's 6'6" and 3/4 or something
Okay,
like that.
235 pounds. So he's a wide receiver, right?
Yeah.
He's not a tackle?
No.
Offensive tackle? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so he played two different schools. He played for ASU for 2 years, and he played for Florida State. So when he was on ASU, if I'm not mistaken, he played with the LSU quarterback, right? Daniels? Wouldn't he have been in the same time?
Maybe. Jaden Daniels, I know he was there in 2020. I can't remember if he was there in 21.
But anyway, that's just throwing something out there.
I know
but
what you mean. He was on the team. He was definitely on the team with them. I don't know if they played together technically.
Right.
He was on the team with them at least a bit.
Right, so he got here 20.
He was there.
He was a 2020 guy, so the COVID year type thing. Played 3 games. I don't think he played. There was many games played that year, so 6 receptions. But he finished with overall in his college career with ASU 18 receptions, with Florida State, who he finished with 84 receptions. So we're really going off his last 2 years, which would be about 23 games, 80 some receptions for about 1,500 yards. So,
yeah.
He's about an 17 and a half yards per catch guy, 7 touchdowns, 8 overall in his career. So, he's done well. He's no rushes, so it's not like he's a Russian, but he's another one that's going to compete for a wide receiver's, maybe not a slot position. 6'7" is crazy. That's huge.
Yeah, he's competing for the right tackle position.
And I don't know what kind of speed we've got on this guy, but if he's got any speed,
it's a 4.52.
So a tight. What do you call it? The down and out in the end zone, kind of throw the ball up for grabs type guy. Harold Cunningham type player who was 6'8".
Carmichael.
Thank you.
But Randall,
But you know what I'm saying.
I get you.
He's that guy that we can use in a short yardage situation, throw the ball up for grabs. But hopefully he can, help with the slot position or the, fill-in wide receiver type thing when somebody's still tired or whatever. So, he's decent. He's not a phenomenal player, but you're talking, 5th, 6th round. So
that's the thing. 6th round, he was the 9th pick in the 6th round. I think he's at 185th overall. Had a 5.95 prospect grade, which is average backup or special teamer. We talked about his height already. That's insane. Ranked as the 34th best wide receiver as the combine results, 37th in athleticism, but 27th in production score, so 34th overall.
Not bad.
I don't know what number we took him at, but or which wide receiver he was in the draft. But I think it's good value for where he was, and if he can be a special teamer for us, or if he can be a outside wide receiver for us with a catch a game, sure, I'll take whatever we got.
But just shows you, that we 2 cornerbacks, right? 2 wide receivers, 2 offensive linemen, 1 linebacker, 1 outside linebacker.
Yeah.
So we kind of hit on all the spots we needed.
And a running back.
and a running back too, which is also a need or another competition type player. So this draft overall was it's always you don't get to know for 3 or 4 years, right? But we always give it an A because we're knuckleheads. But that's just the way it is. But it just seems to me with the 2 corners, the need that we got, and the players that it seems like we've got. And now again, you can go on YouTube and watch a lot of their clips, and it's just amazing to watch some of these players. But we did talk about some of the return game too. Yeah. You also saw that Cooper was a gunner.
Punt returner. He was a gunner on special teams. It's unbelievable.
Some of his highlights are
they're showing his highlights, and they got him gunning, and I'm like, what?
We're watching a punter. What's going on? And
why is I'm like, that's his team punting. Why is he? What? He's the gunner?
Yes.
I couldn't believe it.
He made some great plays too.
Yeah, it was funny because the punter for Iowa, like I told you, got drafted in the 4th round today by the
Bears.
Yes, thank you. Yes. By the Bears, and it was just funny because I see the punt and I see the punt highlights, and I'm like, oh, and then I see Cooper DeJean, it bounces.
What are you doing on the field?
And he goes out of bounds, and I'm like, oh yeah, he's the gunner. Wow. Last guy we got drafted 190th overall in the 6th round. Dylan McMahon. No stats on him, of course, because he played offensive line, so we don't have any real stats of him. The good thing about him is he played 5 years in he redshirted his freshman year, but he played 4 games with a start his freshman year, so didn't play much. And then for the next 4 years, he was basically a full-time starter at center or guard. So he has a lot of experience doing both. Now, I saw that they said going into the NFL, he's mostly just going to be a center. They don't think he's going to be a guard prospect. Mostly just going to be focusing on the center position. So I don't know what that means for us. I don't think it really affects much. But hey, the last 6th round pick we took that was a center was Jason Kelsey. So that's maybe, I don't know. Who knows?
No,
maybe they know something.
That's why you pick these guys.
Exactly.
That's why you don't waste it on a punter or a kicker. You'll get them in the free agency or, because obviously we're going to sign a bunch of guys tonight.
Oh, yeah.
When the draft's over and you start.
Tomorrow,
And they start telling you how great they are, and it's so funny watching the draft. Same thing, we're all looking at every player that they got. They got stats on. You're like, well, if he's so good, why is he in the 8th round? Like it's just funny. It's just, and but you pick what you can.
TJ Edwards was undrafted, man. I remember that.
It's amazing.
I remember when I was like,
it's amazing.
I looked at his stats. I'm like, how has this guy not been drafted?
Right.
And I was like, hopefully the Eagles sign him. And then they did. And then we didn't re-sign him.
That's right.
Prospect grade of 5.8, which is average backup or special teamer. He was ranked as the 8th best center in the combine, a 2nd in athleticism. So he's an athletic guy. So that's good. That's good for the scout team sometimes to have an athletic center.
Sure.
He's 6'3", 299 pounds. So, pretty solid guy as far as height and size together. He's a pretty solid dude. So it looks good. He's got a 5.1 dash, so not fast really at all.
Right.
But, 3-cone drill, 7.26, pretty darn good. 20-yard shuttle, 4.33. So, a lot of athleticism there for him. Good pick for good value in the 6th round.
Stout loves his linemen to have some.
That's the thing.
Some athleticism.
Absolutely.
So, again, they're helping him with picking the guys that we need, and so hopefully they plug them in and help where they can.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I got. You got anything else you want to talk about?
Not really. No,
I can't believe it. I still can't believe we got I can't believe we got Quinton Mitchell first.
Yes.
And then the fact that Cooper DeJean, just getting him was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it.
I mean, it's funny because you hear the names all week.
Yeah.
I don't have the time to sit there and grade every player, right?
Of course.
But it's just when you hear them, and then when you finally get them, and then you start looking at some of the clips, you go, "Oh my Lord, this guy's amazing." So, no, I think it was successful. I'm glad the way it shook down. I'm glad we didn't trade out of the first round. And look at next year. We picked up 3 more picks.
That's
for
the other
next
thing
year.
we should have mentioned. Yeah, we pick up a 3rd round, a 4th round, a 5th round, all for next year, which is big because, and Adam Schefter, of course, had to mention it on TV. If we do get in trouble for tampering, the Saquon Barkley thing that was happening, and they take away a pick, we got some capital back just in
That's
case,
true.
That's
true,
so,
and that's probably one of the reasons they did what they did.
That's the thing. Well, Howie's probably like, we
as it was transpiring, we were kind of going, "What, a trade again? Another trade?" Like it was going kind of crazy.
Can we draft a guy tonight, please?
I just want a guy. But I was so happy we got Trotter. We got him way down the line, so it's perfect because that was who I really wanted to see us get, and we got him. It looked like he was slipping, and we weren't going to get him, but we got him.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's say our goodbyes. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. If you like our Eagles Therapy podcast, do us a favor, rate and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe down below and comment how you feel about the Eagles draft. How excited are you? How pumped are you? What are some key free agents you maybe want us to see us go after if you know what's going on? But email us your questions at oureaglestherapy@gmail.com. But other than that, from all of us here at Our Eagles Therapy Podcast, I'm Basil.
And I'm Baz.
Go Birds.
And fly, Eagles fly.